Nobody's going to sleep. Are you going to go? Why not? All right, there it is. Finally. So, 100th Monkey, welcome back. It's been quite some time since I've made a video. All kind of fun stuff going on. I'll be making more. I've made a couple of videos very quickly where, well, not very quickly. One that was like an hour and a half, and I didn't like it. And then I made another one that was, I don't know, 2 hours long, and I didn't like that one. And then I made another one that was only like a half hour long, and I didn't like that one either. So anyway, I haven't uploaded anything in the last little while. But if I do, the longer videos will be at BitChute. But a couple of things. One, for just, fooling around watching videos on the internets. Dan Bongino and Kevin Shipp, fuck both those guys. They knew about the child trafficking. They had to, right? And they kept their fucking mouths shut till right now. In fact, they're still keeping their mouths shut when you get down to it. Two, Israel saved for last. Israel saved for last. Israel. These are the synagogue of Satan Israelis, not the good guy Israelis, because there's good guys and bad guys everywhere. These terms are very, very nebulous, though, because talking about the good guys, say, on our team, you're going to call them good guys. And by the way, I'll put it right here, right now. Trump, I'm picking Trump by a landslide. He's not my friend, and I wouldn't vote for him. But I still think, looking at all the stadiums. See, this is the thing. I'm in chat rooms. I'm in other places on Twitter and Facebook and other social media. And the Democrats seem to think that any old candidate that they put up will beat Trump. Doesn't matter who it is. They can't fill a fucking Marie Callender. But they're going to win the election as Trump is filling stadiums with thousands of people hanging around outside. No. And then the other thing that's happened that you may or may not be paying attention to is he called out the Marines. He has reinstated the Marine Reserve. Stuff's happening, kids. And they are changing the narrative. I don't believe for a second that Al Big Daddy, Al Big Daddy and Ms. Chalupa were in a cave together with some children. Anyway, no, I guess Ms. Chalupa got out at the last minute. But really, Chalupa, really? I mean, the story is just ridiculous. But if you guys are enjoying the theater, enjoy the theater because it's about to get a lot better. Another thing I was going to mention, just as somebody was talking about 23andMe, if you don't think that what's going on in China is being set up here, especially as the Chinese are doing their best to infiltrate our government, it's not the Russians, kids, it's the Chinese. And what do they want? What do these world leaders want? Well, they want your DNA profile in case they need a kidney, in case they need an eyeball, in case one of their rituals goes awry. And see, these allopathic fucking monster doctors have figured out how to pick something up out of one entity and put it into another entity. They can transplant your heart. They can transplant your liver, your lungs, your eyes, what they've figured out is they have to have a quote unquote genetic match so that your self receptors on the outside of those cells are similar enough that you can fool the other one. And they have ways to, anyway, but the idea is that they have figured out how to pull something out of one person and put it into another. So in China, what's going on, the organ harvesting over there, you make a match over there and see they're putting all their population in a database, get a match for some bureaucrat of upper or lower level or whatever that needs a kidney or a heart or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, and that person gets charged with a crime. A lot of times they're cutting their freaking organs out before they even murder them now because they figured out that makes it so that they get a more successful transplant. In Libya, the African slaves, same thing. They buy these slaves. And see, I said this a couple years ago. No, that's just conspiracy theory. Nobody could be that evil. Yeah. They're this evil and more, right? These people rape children. For fuck's sake, wake up, people. But the idea being, and see, there it goes. This is probably going to get taken down. So like I said, I'm going to have to go over to the BitChute site and put video up over there. But anyway, the bottom line is these motherfuckers want your DNA profile and they'll trick you into getting it. And then once they have that, it goes into a database. And now let's say some hangers-on of the Rothschild family or Rockefeller or whoever the fuck it is again, or people that you've never even heard of need an organ. Oh, and your name comes up on the database. Well, suddenly, yeah. We're not there yet. I won't say that that's happening as I speak, but that's where they're headed. That's what they're setting up for. And then there's this guy Trump that comes along and fucks everything up. Comes along and says, "Hey, you're child trafficking. That needs to come to a stop. We'll bomb the babies in the Middle East, and even that he's bringing to an end. Looks very clearly to me that that's what the case is. That we're pulling out of the Middle East. But it's very difficult when your government is infiltrated with people from the Synagogue of Satan, with people from the Catholic, that cult that has that death cult, and more. I mean, they're everywhere, as it turns out. They're not, and see, it's not thousands and thousands and thousands of them. It's not the majority of them. It's people in key positions, as it turns out. See, and now, if you guys take a look at the the Finders Docs, hashtag the Finders Docs. Now there is no longer any question those fucking vans, as I had said years ago, were being driven by government agents. Now, those government agents had no fear of being caught, because if they did get caught, then they'd just pay off whatever sheriff. And then you find out, or police force, and you find out what these bribes were. It's horrifying how small the bribes were for them to look the other way as they were snatching children out of neighborhoods, right? Driving in the neighborhoods with a white van. Parents aren't looking, pull the kid in, take off, and you never see him again. And God knows, could be MK Ultra, could be for their sick rituals, could be for whatever, right? There's many, and they tried to make it sound like it was just lone wolves. It wasn't just lone wolves. Sorry. It was a concerted and organized effort. And then the CIA gave you the conspiracy theory word, so that instead of being pissed off and sounding the alarm and telling everybody, right? Because I've got people that are afraid to have their children videotaped doing math because they might somehow be kidnapped because of, no, it wasn't. That's not how that worked at all. Take your kids and let them play in your front yard for a little while. They're not doing it so much anymore, but take your eyes off them for a heartbeat. And there was enough. That's how many of these people were out there looking for kids. It's thousands and thousands of these finders. Now, here, I'll tell you a personal story. And then I'm going to stay very vague at the moment, but it's going to get more, because I don't have permission from these people to use names and dates and serial numbers. But the idea being is that I know people whose fathers were finders, and these men were horrifying. I didn't find out till later that they would take their own fucking daughters and sell them to pay off debts. There's one female friend of mine, her earliest memories, again, are of sex, and being passed around 3-4 different guys, and her father collecting money for it, right? You have no, like I said, the depravity of these people is beyond your ability to comprehend. So when it comes to light, and I posted around, and people, oh my God, I couldn't read it, I had to stop. Well, of course, because it's horrifying. These people there are horrifying people out there. And see, the fact that your friends, relatives, and neighbors are good people makes it so that their cognitive dissonance kicks up, because none of them would ever in a million years consider doing the things to the, I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't have a daughter, but if I had a daughter, are you kidding me? Okay. And I know at least 3 or 4 others because of the circles that I have run in my whole life. And at the time, we didn't know. I didn't know. Well, they knew, of course, but of course they're not going to say anything to me until now we're adults, right? And see, the one thing that I am well known for, and it makes my friends crazy, is I can keep a secret, right? I can keep a secret. I have had many friends try and get information out of me casually, or, try to get a name or nope. Because, and that's why. So when you get that kind of reputation, people will tell you secrets. And because of that, since college, I have heard things and seen things that I didn't fucking want to hear or see. And it needs to come to a fucking end. And people need to pull their heads out of their asses and understand that, no, it's the government. It's people in the government. The mind controllers, those that will get you. That's why they call us infants, right? You fucking walk in the court. You don't even know your name. You don't even know how to ask the judge, what's my name, right? Who's here? Who speaks? Because there's a document there. But when you go into a courtroom, that's a hearing. That's not a reading. It's a hearing. They have to hear it. And the judge has to be able to be aware of what, anyway, the idea being is that for the most part, They call you infants because us, not you. In that you, I'm included. They can get you to put on funny clothes and give you all kind of armaments, and you'll go out and kill each other in mass. You don't do it, right? And make excuses and talk about glory and medals and stuff like that. And then when the masses wake up, they realize, oops, right? It didn't matter if the government said it was okay or not. They come home, and again, I can think of way more than 4. I mean, I need fingers and toes to count all the boys that I know that went off to war, saw things that they can't unsee, came back home, and they'll never be the same again. Never, never, ever, right? And because bottom line comes down between, they put you in a situation where it's him or you, and it's him, and that's it. And if it's one of your brothers or one of your friends that you went through basic and so forth with, then for fuck sure, it's him. It's not them. It's not you. It's them, right? And you got the uniform. He's got a different uniform on. He's got a different ideology. He's got a different game plan. And all it is here, and they have figured out how to get us to kill each other, right? They've figured out how they can trick mothers into aborting their own children because you don't want them to grow up to be poor. I fucking grew up poor, right? More than a few of my friends grew up poor, and they come around to making, and I've had some friends that grew up very wealthy that have turned out to be nerdy wells with tattoos all over them and piercings, and certainly aren't doing anything but consuming and spending the money from the family. Then I have other friends that had none of that coming up, no silver spoon, but they're creators, and they make stuff, and they've become quite wealthy making stuff. But what they try to do is trick you into becoming a consumer, so that consume. Don't create, right? Don't use this device to make stuff. Use this device to consume stuff, right? And the people that do that to you are the most. They have names and addresses, right? The Gates, the Bezos, and these are just the merchants. These are not the have all be all guys. These are just the low level guys that you see in front. Because once again, I've said it many times. They don't fucking drive the police cars. We do. They don't man the prisons. We do. They don't sit. They're certainly not going to soil themselves sitting around in our government houses. Right? No, they just buy the senators. They just buy the congressmen. They just buy at the local, state, federal level, whatever it is, as much as they can. They just use their notes, right? We don't even have money anymore, right? The slave. You try to tell the slaves that they're slaves, and they get awfully pissy because they're free. I'm a free man. I'm an American. Yay, Trump, make America great again. What the fuck it is? Or hey, yay, it's Hillary or Obama or whatever. We're free Americans. And yeah, you need permission to travel from A to B. Right? Most of you don't even believe you have a right to travel. If you want to go from, I'm here on Maui, if you want to go from Mako out to Lahaina, you better fucking pay for a license. You better get your car registered. You better, right? You can't travel from and using the public highways. Nope. Although the Supreme Court has ruled a second time that you have a right to travel. Most of you don't know how to enforce that right. Simple as that. But the idea being is that these people have you utterly enslaved. Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of gentlemen. Barter is the money of peasants, right? And debt is the money of slaves. Our money is debt. Those notes, those are not bills, those are debts. And again, they get you, what's the word I want? Educated, indoctrinated in a public institution. And you don't know what the words mean, right? I started doing etymology and figuring out what the words mean and where they come from. Oh my. A lot of times what you think the word means and what the word actually means are two completely different things, or the opposite. That's their favorite. That's how you know that these people have, and I use the term people because entities, these creatures that look a lot like us but are not like us, have given us, because go and read. I have my one of my sons doing research and so forth. Always. Where do we get the ability to talk? Somebody gave us that ability, right? Somebody taught us a language. Somebody gave us fire. It's always, if you look at the legends, if you look at the old legends from basic cultures that are still subsistence, like in the Amazon rainforest and some of the Indian tribes in the United States area, in Canada and Mexico and so forth. Ooh, Mexicans. Oh, some of those Mexican shamans. They retain some of that old knowledge. And the stories are amazing. The ant people coming up out of the ground. Oh, right? Anyway, because it turns out living on the surface of the planet, bad place to live. Bad place to live. You don't want to live on the surface. The surface is a bad place. Anyway, underground, much safer, much better. But anyway, the idea being is that many of these cultures, they tell you that these gods gave them language. These gods taught them how to grow maize. These gods taught them how to farm and how to, I mean, on and on. Is that prime creator? Or are these just beings that are quote unquote superior to us that, and we have this gene apparently that was, and we've talked about this, go spend some time learning some mathematics and chemistry. Chemistry is the thing that is now being somewhat fascinating to one of my sons, because if you take a look at the chemistry and the physiochemistry and the biology of this thing, this device that you're driving around in the prime material plane, there is no fucking way in hell, no way that DNA is an accident. No way did that just come up by through evolution. That shit was created. So that makes us a created being. I'm not saying that's as far as I've gotten. Who created us? No idea. Was that prime creator? Was that somebody, or who created them if somebody was, right? But the idea being is that, no, you're looking around at intelligent design. It's as simple as that. Now, who designed it? What intelligence? I don't know. I don't have an answer. But I can tell you just by studying a little, like, 60, 70 hours worth, climb down the rabbit hole of DNA and the double helix and how this thing works. And there's no fucking way you can come to the conclusion that this was just an accident of evolution. And then you got one of these things to let you know where you are. That fingerprint right there. You get a unique ID is what you get. Anyway, the point being, and look, this is turning into a whole nother video, but the idea is I was going to make a thing on BitChute and explain why I haven't made some videos, because I'll tell you what, the current times, they're pretty interesting, aren't they? Between, if you're paying attention, the mainstream media is now just such blatant bullshit from top to bottom. It's embarrassing. I've seen this on Facebook and a couple other places where people are in the comments, reading comments, where they go back, they haven't turned on CNN for, 6-8 months or whatever. And now they turn on CNN because like a friend came over to the house and they watch CNN still, right? So they're watching CNN and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's just complete and utter condescending. The tone is condescending. The stories are complete bullshit and lies. And you can tell that they are trying to, what's the word? They're trying to deflect from any kind of real story, because the hammer is coming down on these people. You cynics out there that thought that these motherfuckers were going to get away with baby rape and get away with organ harvesting and get away with child trafficking and human trafficking. It's not just children that they traffic humans. It's the flesh is the most highly prized commodity on the planet. Human flesh, not animal flesh, not cows, not freaking oxtails, not rhino horns. Human flesh, not elephant tusks. Human flesh is the most on the black market, highly prized commodity, bar none. And there was the slave trade never went away. They got really good at hiding it. They got really good at hiding it in plain view, but certainly they weren't going to give up. And the they I'm talking about is not just others, but us humans. Again, we're the ones kidnapping the children. It's not some aliens that are driving the fucking white vans. It was humans that were greedy. And again, you find out what these guys were paid, and it's fucking disgusting, right? That they would subject your and my children to such horrors for so little money, right? They didn't need big houses. They didn't need huge pensions. Oh, here's Lamborghini. Oh, here's $10,000. Oh, here's $5,000. Unfucking believable, right? All this is going to come out and more, right? And it's going to get to the point, I swear to God, we're not there yet because these fuckers are still on TV, but it's going to get to the point where these people cannot show their face in public. And see, we know what they look like. These people, many of them, we know what they look like. A lot of the people that are most responsible, you've never seen them. You've never heard their names. You don't know a fucking thing about them. And they like it that way, right? They are exceedingly secretive. But the people in Hollywood, the people in DC, the people in your governments, they don't have that luxury. You don't know their real names, but you know what they look like, right? And I'll tell you what, some of these people, when you find out the things that they've done, and when you find adrenochrome is a thing, it's a real thing. Again, most highly prized commodity on the planet. But when you find out what these people have been up to for centuries and for the last at least 20, 30, 40, 50 years, here in this country in earnest, like just fucking took over, just started. I mean, just started infiltrating. Like I said, they're not in huge numbers, but they're in enough positions of power where if you rock the boat, you end up dead, right? Look at every guy that, see, and they didn't come forward. But anyway, every guy that looked into the Wiener laptop, they're all dead. They're all dead. They're all fucking committing suicide. Police, what is it, 12 of them now? What are we up to? How many are we up to now? A dozen of them, right? Anybody that fucking had anything to do with that laptop, they should have come forward, right? Because a lot of these guys, and some of these guys, hard-ass motherfuckers, right? These are New York detectives. These are guys that have seen it all. They dealt with the mob. They dealt with these people are insidious and evil as can be. Human life means nothing to them. See, and a lot of the people understand this that have been put in positions, and they understand that they can be offed at any minute. They can be told, and then they'll tell stories, right? They'll tell, oh, he had a heart attack. Yeah, because we gave him a heart attack. Oh, he got cancer. Those that they're really trying to teach a lesson, right? And of course, the ones that you're all familiar with, where the double tap to the back of the head, and then they still consider it suicide, right? They write, because how much does it cost to pay off a coroner to write suicide on the death certificate? Turns out not that much. And they just off people left and right, and they know that they are subject to being offed, so they play ball. Not to mention, if sometimes being offed is the better of the two options, right? Because the terms of surrender have pretty much already been negotiated. But the idea being is a lot of these guys are being killed. And like I said, I don't give a fuck how they go as long as they go. But some of these guys are being, you get told that they died of natural causes, but they got offed. McCain, for one. Pelosi's brother. I mean, just take a look at the people that are dying of natural causes, and a lot of them they're old, so yeah, they could die. But some of them not so old, 68, 62, 65. That's not very old, right? But you know, they get in their 60s and 70s, and you guys are like, yeah, why ask questions? They're just dead. Great, I don't care. But see, the idea being is that they're not going to get them for pedophilia and other things, because the crimes, or the penalties for pedophilia and some. If you take a look at it, they're pretty, I mean, as written on the books, and this was what tells you who wrote those laws, are pretty fucking wimpy. Right? I mean, that one guy, was it 166 kids? He gets like 7 years. What? Okay, so get him for treason. Well, get them for other things that they've been doing. Some of that corruption that has been going on. Pelosi's been busted royally. Biden, Romney, geez, name them. There's a pretty long list, and see, people are starting to figure out. Now, if you read the finder's docs and you figure out that those fucking vans were being driven by FBI and CIA agents to snatch kids for MK Ultra and other disgusting things, really, you don't think that there are those Republican and Democrat, not just Democrats, more Democrats than Republicans, but both sides that were getting their kids paid, right? Their kid gets an endowment, right? Right in front of your nose, Clinton gets $500,000 for a half-hour speech, and then of course they get these huge book deals, and then you go to the bookstores, and the books are marked down for 25 cents or $1, but they get these monster book deals. You can't figure out the corruption there. You can't figure out that they pay the kids, so it's 1 degree of separation. So they still get that usufruct there, right? They still get full use of whatever it is, the foreign aid going into these countries. Name them. I mean, even like a little country, or even just a little place like, look how many bajillions of dollars it was in Puerto Rico, and that's just a little tiny municipality, right? But I mean, entire countries in Africa, and again, municipalities in India and China and Indonesia and fucking Philippines, name it, all around the world. It's Ukraine. I mean, all the Eastern Bloc countries. It's billions and billions of dollars that these grifters have fucking siphoned off, so that they have endless amounts of money to do their nefarious deeds, right? And they want to see Trump's tax returns. Meantime, so a billionaire has become less of a billionaire as president of the United States, and these fucking lackeys come in with, broke dick, and they come out multi-hundred millionaires, and nobody takes a look at what goes on with them. Tells me that your media might be in on it, right? And these people in the media, you can actually see them sweat sometimes, because they know that they're being exposed. You take a look at the flight logs, you take a look at some of these court cases that they've tried to sequester all the information, but guess what? There's hackers, But the idea is that these guys have done horrific things, and they're getting busted for it. They're being caught. They've left the paper trail that they didn't understand. All these guys thinking that that bleach bidding and so forth, and they wouldn't get caught because they've got all these people in positions but it turns out lots of people from the media were on Epstein's island. Lots of people from the media. Obviously, those guys were out in the open at the Playboy Bunny Mansion at the Hefner's thing going on over there. And what they do is blackmail, and that business is good. Now they've got these guys blackmailed. They put them in positions of power, and you see what happens, right? They are able to squish investigations. They are able to kill key people. They are able to silence others. They are able to intimidate witnesses and people that would come forward. Do you understand? No, you don't understand the amount of courage it takes for one of these little girls who's been raped since she was a little child to come forward and try to start naming names, because they know what's going to happen. They know that all these innocent tools of the establishment will come forward and call them crazy and make all kind of wild accusations and so on, and do whatever they can to defame and make it like, oh, you're just a crazy drug taking loser that wants to get money, right? Because they know that, right? That's why most of them don't say anything. And again, those of you that have been following this channel for a while will know that I got off my ass, got on an airplane, went to the mainland, drove around, talked to different people, and I can tell you that several of these people are, how shall we say, relieved that it's finally all starting to come out. But they're not saying shit yet because they don't feel safe. They don't feel like it's time. But I can tell you, 1 degree of separation. One woman who was blowing the whistle and making noise, her own fucking mother threw her in an asylum. Think about this, right? That's their own parents. Okay. And by the way, the parents were in on it, and what they were doing is shutting their fucking daughter up so that she didn't make noise, and so that you wouldn't, because she was a credible person, and so that you guys wouldn't get the idea that, oh yeah, this has been going on, and it's the government. Not just, and by the way, not just our government, right? The government in Europe, the government in it's pervasive. It's not just the United States. It's not just Canada. It's China. Name it. Name a country. There is a death cult that cooperates with each other. There are many faces of the same beast. These that worship El and Isis and Ra. And I get it that it's more than most people can. The normies, they can't handle it. They can't handle it. The people that are watching here, when I'm up to like 9, most of you guys are appalled and horrified, but at least you can wrap your mind around the concept that these people do the things they do. Many of your friends and relatives cannot conceive, even in black and white, even when it's black and white, and you look at the Finder's docs. I still posting that all over the fucking place, and people are like, "Where's the source? This isn't real. No way!" Right? Because they cannot conceive their fucking government doing such things. Right? It's not because they're bad people, and it's not because, well, they're a little stupid and naive and so forth, but it's good-naturedness. They're good people. So their cognitive dissonance comes up in ways that makes it so that they just can't believe it. They can't understand it because they would never do this to children or others. Right? These are good people. And certainly people that are like, I was sitting with some nuns the other day having lunch. Those nuns are not responsible for what the fucking Pope is doing. Right? They believe and they do good works, and they do, to the best of their ability, try to follow what's in the book that they're instructed to read. And they do, by their works, you know them. But then there are others, by their works, they have done horrifying and ugly things. And you can tell. And like I said, when it comes to a lot of these Catholics, priests, that is, it's not the common folk. The common folk, that's the religion for the common folk. But there is the upper echelon, the elite that are involved in horrifying things, and the common folk can't believe it. And the horrifying, it's pretty clear that they aren't being punished. They just get moved around. So if they're not being punished, then apparently the Pope thinks, and other cardinals and so forth think, that they haven't done anything wrong. They haven't broken their canon. And you try to explain that to Catholics, and they get really upset. But if they had been breaking canon, and we're not going to get into it, but the fact that, go look up the etymology of the word celibacy. right? Celibate. That's a state of non-marriage. That's not swearing off sex. That just means you don't get married and you don't procreate. So anyway, the bottom line though is that if they had been doing something wrong or they had been breaking the law according to that church, they would have been punished. But they weren't punished. They were just moved around and they were absolved and they were given every kind of break you could possibly get. And not only that, many of the priests and cardinals and those further up were telling those that this is a church matter, not a secular matter, and that the cops and others don't have jurisdiction over their rape of children. Now we find out, again, more and more stories. Pennsylvania, right? They're filming fucking porn in the church basements, right? And people are like, no, that's crazy talk. It's in the depositions, right? Colorado now has come forward. I mean, every state in this union is, and around the, I mean, Argentina, I mean, it's just becoming to the surface now. People are starting to expose this incredible debauchery. But it's not just the church. Now we can go on to the secular side. Again, politicians, again, movie stars, again, TV stars, media, people that are involved in supposedly reporting the news. You think they're going to report on this? You think they're going to tell stories on their masters? You think they're going to tell stories on, or, especially when those masters will snuff them without thinking about it? Take a look at the whistleblowers, the actual whistleblowers. A lot of them end up dead, right? They don't get book deals. They don't get fame and fortune. They get dead is what they get. And I'm sorry, I can't read the fine print over here. Actually, maybe I could. Can I? Oh, yes, I can. Hey, nice to see you. I'm here. Wait, I'm just going to read my comments over here. Yeah, there you go. Check it out later. If they don't delete it. Yeah, I know. It doesn't happen very often. Who is it? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. See, and that's the thing. They're hoping that you can't put two and two together is the whole point. And they make it very difficult because you're programmed, or we are all programmed. For the longest time, most of you have woken up. And like I said, if you're on this thread, I get pretty much you've figured out that the media lies to you every fucking day, right? But the idea is there are many people that are so programmed that they believe that the media wouldn't lie to me. If this was going on, right, that guy's crazy. If this was going on, you know, Consulter would tell me, or one of the Vanderbilts would tell me on CNN. What's the guy's name with the silver hair? Yeah, that guy. Anyway, but I mean, the idea being is that no, the media isn't telling you. The media is in on it. The media has partaken of it. The wealthy and the elite that run these fucking cults make sure that the people that are in the media are blackmailable and have been. They have control files. And see, that's another thing. That control files has finally made it into the consciousness. Epstein certainly didn't kill himself. Kenny Boy Lay didn't kill himself. Right, but now the Kenny Boy and see, you want to go down that path? Let's go down that path. Look at California. Haven't you guys sat in the dark before? I mean, yes, you have, and now they're doing it again, right? PG&E. We'll talk about a third world country. Oh my God, it's just gone crazy in California to the point where the Californians are tired of being Californians. To the point where a lot of those guys. I mean, did you see how much money Trump raised in California? Oh my goodness, people in California, they're tired of the disease and plague and stuff that's happening in the cities because there's excrement in San Francisco in particular. I think that story is talking to people I know in San Francisco, because I know I lived there for a while. It's an exaggeration, but it's not too much of an exaggeration. There are people crapping in the streets, and the homeless situation has gotten out of control in San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. There are towns. I mean, there are apparently streets that you can drive down, and it's fucking third world. This is what happens. This is what they're doing. They rape and pillage. They extract wealth from you in every way, shape, or form. And if they can do it legally, great. If they can do it right, I mean, if they can get you to hand them over money to travel, or hand them over money when you walk into a court of law, or hand them over money for taxes and property taxes and so forth, whatever it is, right? Taxation or carbon taxes or whatever they can fucking get out of you, they will extract the wealth. And then when it begins to show up on the surface, where you can see, oh, look at all these homeless people. Oh, look at all these broken, families. And look at all these people that can't make their mortgages, and the car repossessions, can't pay their student loans. And oh my God, they're debtors, right? They're slaves. They're debtors. using debt for currency. It begins to, the cracks begin to show, and you start to see that, right? And then you see the violence goes up because these people are poor. They're not necessarily violent, but they, they will commit acts of violence in order to get food, or more likely, they don't usually do it for food. Most of those guys that are stealing for families don't do violent crime, but when they're stealing for drugs, they do, right? When they're looking for, when they're looking to fill their habit and so forth, violence, and then they got no place to take a crap. Well, shit in the street, and then you see what happens, right? The idea is that, and then you find out that here's a tail end of that story. Your vaccines don't work because a lot of these, we're starting to have outbreaks of stuff that supposedly you can be vaccinated against. It turns out sanitation was the important thing, right? It wasn't the vaccine; it was the sanitation. And now when the sanitation breaks down, we see what happens. People start getting diseased. Anyway. Epstein didn't kill himself. Democrats need to wake the fuck up to what's happening, because take a look around. The hammer is coming down, and what's coming cannot be avoided. Those of you that were cynics and thought that they were going to get off, I got news for you. They're not getting off. It's coming. You got to be patient, though, because they want to build an airtight case, and they want to make it where it's almost like what's the word I want? It's Socratic method. They're getting you to figure out, or not you, but the masses to figure out that what's happening, right? And they do it. They're doing it in stages. Oh, look, right? The Finder's docs. Oh, wait a minute. If the government can be involved in this, what else are they involved in? Oh, showing very clearly. I tried to post some Rachel Maddow video where she was just off her fucking rocker so clearly. And they pulled it down. That should be that should be, why wouldn't they want that up? Weren't they? But I mean, everywhere I put that, it was down within a few hours. Zach Haller, another one, he tried to post a couple of the Rachel Maddows, and again, pulled down instantly. Why? Because they don't want they don't want the masses seeing these people freaking imploding, right in front of your eyes. If you think nothing's happening, just take a look around at all the different CEOs that are quitting. Because they've been relieved. Because there's a thing. If you did not participate, but you knew about it and you just profited, okay, that's one punishment. If you were actually involved in the rape of these children, that's another punishment. But punishment's coming, right? Justice is coming. Make no mistake. Justice is coming. It is slow and painful, but it's coming. And they're not getting out of it. And if they don't, because they understand, they understand. Too many of us know. And if they don't bring justice, those that refuse to bring justice will be brought to justice, along with the people that they should have been brought to justice. And the mob justice is swift and ugly. And it's a wonderful country we're in. But take a look around the world. It can fall apart rapidly, especially in a country like us where every fucking buddy's got a gun. Right? So the idea is they understand that there is a populace that's getting antsy and clamoring for justice. So now what they're doing is throwing out bones so that you guys see that, oh yes, stuff's happening. Stuff is happening. They're just, there's, the idea is there was just so much of it that you could get one guy dead to rights, but say the prosecutor, the judge, and the congressperson in that district are all fucking corrupt. How are you going to get a conviction? So you got to clean up. You got to clean the house before you can, right? And it turned out cleaning the house, a lot of people thought, well, we'll just go arrest everybody. Well, then the government ceases to function, and then we really have a world of hurt. And what these people are trying to do is get through this transition as painlessly as possible. There's going to be pain, but they're trying to mitigate and minimize that pain. And what we're going to see here in the near future, like I said, gird yourselves, right? Steel yourselves, because even those of you who are clamoring for justice, when justice comes and you start seeing the people at the end of the ropes, and when you start seeing the executions and so forth, I don't care who you are, it's going to hurt. But it needs to be done, needs to be done, needs to be done. These people are fucking sick, and they need to be brought to justice. And it's happening. You can help by spreading the word. And when you go into a chat room or into a thread on Facebook or wherever the fuck it is, Instagram or something, and people are like, oh, that's not the truth, that's crazy, and then just fucking talk them down, right? Because what they're hoping is they'll embarrass you or silence you or censor you. And the idea, right? I get booted off of Facebook. I've been booted off of Twitter. Right? I mean, it's pretty amusing because they're trying to silence us. But see, every time they boot one, two more appear. And then a lot of guys, I don't bother. But a lot of guys, they make multiple handles. I know guys that have like 7 handles. So if one gets put in Facebook prison, the other one pops up. But the idea is you need to spread the word and put an end to this nonsense. And the only way to do that is to wake up the masses so that they're in support of what comes. They're not fighting against what comes. Because there's a lot of good people. They're good people, but they cannot conceive. They pretend that they don't understand why the establishment is so hot to get rid of Trump, right? Because Trump is just the spearhead. I can't believe that that's the guy they picked, but that's the guy they picked. And if you go back and look, I should post underneath this video a whole bunch of links to him on talk shows. But he sounds the same today as he did when he was on the talk shows in the 90s. Late 90s, 2000s on David Letterman and on various other talk shows, he sounds exactly the same. And the idea that they picked this guy to put an end to the child trafficking, to change the financial system, to take on these entities is amazing. But see, what we have, or what they have in their pocket, is the most powerful military ever to be assembled on the face of the earth. Never mind Space Force. We're not going to talk about Space Force and all that other stuff and the Nazis and go down that path. But for conventional, or I don't know, what's the word I want to call it, but on the face of the planet, there isn't a more powerful military than ours. And they just dumped a bunch of money into it to make it that much better. And yeah, they don't have the bankers. I still got some money on the bankers, though, because they're never going to roll over than the people that own the bankers and so forth. But as our founding fathers have said, these people much more dangerous to our republic than any standing army. These bankers, their money and their anyway, their corporations and so forth, much more dangerous to the freedom of the human than any standing army. And very hard because they're nebulous, very hard to punch at. But a lot of the things that they've done in the Middle East, like ISIS, you can see that falling apart. The whole story is coming apart. Did you see the thing about the fingerprints they've got these guys dead to rights. It's coming. I'm telling you. All of these traitors, all of these corrupt grifters, all of these people are slowly but surely going to be exposed, and one after another, they're either going to commit suicide or they're going to be brought to justice. And a lot of them, because make no mistake, they pray to a God that you don't pray to. they pray, and they're thinking, and see, this God has had tangible effects in the prime material plane in the past. Let's put it that way. I don't know how to describe it. So they're expecting that they're going to get a Hail Mary pass, or they're going to get bailed out, or no. Even in their own scripture, even in their own books, I don't have them around here. I usually do, but it tells you that Saturn is a god of law, and that reckoning and justice is coming. Ra also, ISIS also, all of these guys put it in balance, and they had come out of balance, and justice is fucking coming. There will be no Hail Mary pass. There will be no salvation. They will not get saved. They're about to go down here in the prime material plane. Here in this place where you can touch and feel, and where you run this meat suit around, things are happening rapidly. And we are in the plane of existence where free will is the order of the day. And these guys abused their free will. And now it's justice is coming. Simple as that. Stay tuned and wait for it, because it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And a lot of what you're seeing right now, like I said, the terms of surrender have already been negotiated. What you're watching now is theater, and they're coming up with some great names. My favorite one of late is the Chalupa woman and Al Big Daddy. But anyway, how many times? Are we going to kill him 17 more times, or is this the last time we kill him? Same thing as Bin Laden saying. It's just, they just tell stories, and it's great, and it's fun to watch, and I hope you're entertained and you're having a fun time. But don't let it take up too much of your time. Focus on what's important, like feeding your kids and making sure that you're ready for what comes, that you get moved towards self-sufficiency. A lot of people in California take my advice, right? I remember I made videos where I showed you like solar, it was cheap stuff that can run. Yeah, you don't need that. You've got centralized power through. Oh, they shut off the power. Oops. So maybe you want to be a little more personally prepared. That's not crazy talk. That's not right. That's just having your own food. I'm working now on several properties where the owners of the properties here on the island understand that this is a very vulnerable place because the ships don't come the store shelves empty. We've had it happen numerous times, those of us that have lived here long enough, right? A hurricane or a dock strike, and we got 3 days of food in the shelves here. So they're growing stuff. Last night, I ate part of a meal grown myself, just like when we were kids. Because when I was a kid, you didn't go store, right? You went to store for canned milk and stuff like that, but you didn't go store. And dairy products maybe, and we had a Waihe dairy. But you didn't go for like vegetables. You didn't go for fish. You didn't go for meat, right? People had cattle. People had, fishing nets. People had gardens, and we took care of each other. And you went store once in a very great while. Okay, they did everything they could to get you dependent on the government and centralized food, and then they poisoned the food, and then they gave you facts, and then right. And now you need pharmaceuticals. And now you're looking at allopathic medicine going, oh, save me. And they're not any good at any kind of preventive maintenance. Again, if I get shot, I want Western medicine, right? If I get in a car accident, I do not want herbs and vitamin C. What I want is a guy that knows how to use sutures and put me back together again. But when it comes to keeping you from getting cancer, they want you getting cancer, then diabetes, all these big diseases, they figured out how to treat you to extract wealth. Again, it's about extracting wealth, right? And however they can extract that wealth from you, they look at you like cattle, right? And at the very best, they make you sick and then they make you better, right? But a lot of times what happens, they make you sick and they just drive you right into the grave with chemotherapy or whatever the fuck it is, right? They shorten your life, but as long as they can extract as much money out of you as possible, they don't care. These are the same people that did the finder's docs that would run programs like MK Ultra. These are the same people that traffic in flesh. These are the same people, like I said, the pharmaceutical companies, look up the etymology of that word, right? They don't make medicine, they make poison. And all the big corporations are owned by the freaking brotherhoods and death cults of yore, and they are still in existence today, making money and raping us. And the difference now is that the populace is starting to wake up to the fact. Very slowly, because it's hard to believe. You can't believe how evil these people are. And it turns out, apparently things are getting better because Poppy Bush was so fucking evil that they can't replace him in the echelon. There is a little bit of a void. There's a little bit of a vacuum when it comes to when he left the scene, because his kids are evil. But like I remember a friend of mine who met George Bush, that it's not so much that he saw abject evil as cremation of care, as just vacant apathy. I think it was more. What is it? That was it. It wasn't evil. It was apathy. Just didn't care. Just doesn't give a fuck. Right? Could care less babies being raped. Could care less about the traffic. Could care less about the carnage that's going on in the Middle East. Could care less about the heroin that's making it into the United States. Oh, how's it making it into the United States? They have all of it. Q tells you constantly that they have it all. Well, then if they have it all, then they kind of sort of know how the heroin's getting in here, don't they? How it's getting all the way from Afghanistan, where oddly enough our troops are. And the guys that are fighting against us are the ones that want to shut down the heroin and poppy growth, because even though they consider us the great Satan, they know that selling us opium and heroin is bad karma for them and wrong and evil. And we vilified those guys. Unbelievable. Anyway, the idea is that these guys know, because they've got it all, how it's getting into the country. Right? That's going to start to get a little pissy with some people also. Because heroin, I can almost guarantee you, all 10 of you that are watching this right now know somebody that's been adversely affected by heroin. And that's, again, not by accident. Because one of the things, too, you want to try to resist these people, and you can't. You can't resist them. They got all the guns and clubs. We do not have all the guns and clubs until such time as things absolutely go south. We will outnumber them, because quantity will have a quality all its own. Because, I mean, just look at how many hunting licenses in the United States. There are, I can't remember what the number was, but it's a ridiculous number of privately registered weapons just on the West Coast. So if those people wake up to the fact that these guys, it's not conspiracy theory. These people have been raping children and trafficking in children and trafficking in flesh and kidnapping children off of the streets in our cities and suburbs. And it's no longer bullshit. You have the documents. You can't deny it. There's going to be some social unrest if they don't get their act together. So they're getting their acts together, and they're telling you a great story to keep you involved every day. right now. You notice things are happening rather rapidly now every day. And after Trump wins his reelection, I'm not even going to go down that road. But anyway, after Trump is reinstalled, things are really going to start happening rapidly. Because those of us that were so naive, and I was one of them, that was thinking that this stuff was going to get cleaned up in 2 or 3 years. Nah, 8, 10, 12 years. Like, I don't think it's even going to get done by the time Trump's out of office. There is so much corruption. There is so many. I mean, they may get some of the big ones, but then, like in Lord of the Rings or any freaking trilogy that you've ever read, you knock down one Dark Lord and another one will be right there to take his place, right? And that's what I was saying with Poppy Bush. Seems to be they're having a hard time taking his place because none of his kids are that evil, right? I mean, they're evil, but they're not as evil as Poppy Bush, right? Poppy Bush had no, and they don't call him Poppy Bush because he was the patron or the patriarch of the family. They call him Poppy Bush because of poppies, opium poppies, right? And he had no issue devastating our inner cities with opium and pulling money out of it because their way of thinking is, well, right, all they're doing is providing those who are weak enough to want heroin with the heroin that they want. And so why is there negative karma for them if all they're doing is providing the service, right? And then they make money off of that that sector of the black market. But the idea is that these people are coming down. It is falling down around their heads. It is slowly but surely. Nothing stops what's coming. Again, too many of us know, and it is a slow advance toward justice. And I don't care how you believe, if you're a complete atheist, and despite the DNA and despite this thing, you think this is all an accident and just whatever, we're just here floating through space or on flat earth or whatever you want to believe, fine. But I'm telling you, that there are entities that are here for our development, and that's what this whole experience is about, is your development. If you look at the scripture again, and not just the Western scripture that we call the Bible, the Helios Biblica, many cultures talk about, and I know, man, you can develop your eyes, you can develop your hearing, you can develop your spirituality, you can develop your physical person, usually with practice. We call that, athleticism in sports. You can develop your body, right? Bodybuilders have figured that out. Women have figured that out, right? They just want a nice butt or legs or so forth. There's exercises you can do to develop that. You can develop your intellect. You can develop your consciousness. Everything is here for your development. This is the plane of personal development. And it never ends. It's non-ending. It is never-ending development. Ned, look, I'm a what are those speakers that get up in the right? But it is. It's never-ending development for all of you. Not just for your physical person, for your mental person, for your spiritual person. You're here to develop. It's not a classroom per se. It's not a prison planet. It's not a, I mean, I can argue both sides of that point, but the idea is this could be a very paradisical prison if we let it. But the idea is you're here for your development. That's why we're here. And this whole scenario that we've been waking up on the slave plantation surrounded by demons is part of your development. Okay, go. Now what? What do? You sit silently? Do you put your head down? Do you fight against it? What do you do? Because I'll tell you what, it's pretty clear that if you take a look around at world affairs, that the dark side has been in control. The dark side has fooled the infants into putting funny uniforms on and killing each other for centuries now. The dark side has polluted the oceans. The dark side has tricked you into thinking that nuclear energy is a good thing. And now look, right now, look at the Pacific. They have taken the kernel, the germ of the most common food that we eat, bread, and fucked with that to the point where now many of you are unable to digest this food. Well, that was the design, right? They've fucked with corn. They've everything, right? Right? And genetic engineering has taken its toll on your gastrointestinal system. And now we've got anyway, but the idea being is that if you understand who's in control, it makes it pretty clear that these fuckers are not on our side. They do not want us developing. They do not want us progressing, because if you want to progress and develop, you need brain power, and you need good nutrients, and you need to nourish this being so that it can develop. Very difficult to develop when you've got cancer. Very difficult to develop when you've got diabetes. Very difficult to develop when you've got autism. Anyway, like I said, you can argue the point on all of them because a lot of that can lead to development, spiritual development. But the idea being is that they're not on our side. The demons, the people that run this thing, and I'm not talking about red-skinned, pointy-tailed, pitchfork-bearing creatures. I'm talking about people that look like you and me, that have no sociopaths, that have no issue with raising children, harvesting organs, but raising children for their blood, terrifying them so that they can extract adrenaline, right? I mean, these people, like I said, are evil beyond our ability to comprehend. And when you get too close, and if you look too much, I made the mistake of showing my girlfriend a few things, and yeah, she was not pleased at all, right? I mean, it makes it difficult to sleep, and because you understand that these creatures exist and they're on the planet doing horrifying things, and there are unwitting tools that back up their stories because they're good people, so they can't understand that the people that they're backing are demons. Anyway, I've talked enough. This is way more than I planned to do. I plan to do 5 minutes, and I doubt seriously that this one is going to stay up. If it goes down, it went down not because of me, but because of YouTube. So maybe I'll download it and upload it over to BitChute, because BitChute is it's a pain in the ass, but it's a lot more trustworthy than YouTube is. And right there should be a clue for your friends. Really, United States, we have this thing, or I don't know about you, but I was raised where, this thing called free speech. How dare they take down videos? How dare they tell you what you can and can't write on your Facebook page? Again, United States Supreme Court has upheld the fact that hate speech is protected. Right? You don't like Jews, you can go on all day about how you hate Jews or niggers or whatever the hell it is, or faggots or as long as you don't go and actually cause them harm, right? But you can speak it, right? And that's the thing. Let them speak. Let them speak. Let them speak. Let them speak all day long, because you should be smart enough to be able, right? I hear the Klansmen going on about niggers and stuff. I'm not going to suddenly go, oh, yeah, that's right, niggers should be killed. I'm just not going to buy it, right? I hear Nazis and others going on about socialism. You can talk about socialism all day. I'm going to call you a dumbass. This tells me you can't do math. You can talk about how all the Jews, because of the synagogue of Satan in Israel and so forth, all the Jews, every single one of them, including the babies, need to be exterminated. I'm sorry. I'm just not buying what you're selling, and I'm smart enough not to, right? So go ahead, talk all day, right? And I'd rather know that that's the way you think. I'd rather know that, right? Because I've been down south, and when I was in the room, I was black. And as soon as I left the room and not always out of earshot, I was a nigger, right? So I would rather know, being able to look at you and talk to you where you stand, than have what they call the sneaky Nazis or the sneaky racists or the sneaky Klansmen, right? All right. Anyway, and that's what they're trying to do. They make it difficult for you to decide who's who and what's what, is the whole point. All right. I've gone on long enough. Like I said, I will see. And on your own, just go. I don't care how you feel about the man, one way or the other. Go back and look at and see, is he consistent over time, over decades? That Donald Trump dude. Go back and look. You can find them all over YouTube. You can find him on Letterman. And I mean, he was on everything. I mean, come on, he was a reality TV show star, and he was. And look and listen to how the crowd reacted when he came on stage and stuff. He was a popular guy. Never was called a racist. Never was any of that stuff, right? But now that he's president, right? Racist, misogynist, on and on and on, just crazy. All the different identity politics they throw at this guy. But go back and take a look, right? And understand that what's coming can't be stopped, right? And it's great theater, but don't spend too much of your time at it. I mean, following every Q drop and following every post from some of these guys, especially some of the ones that really piss me off. Like I said, some of these they've come out now and started talking, but they knew about the child trafficking 20 years ago. Fucking A. If I knew, they knew. Simple as that. They're sitting at in positions of power in the Secret Service or in the CIA or in the NSA or in the FBI. Don't fucking tell me they didn't know. Right? I refuse to buy it for a second. And I have another couple of friends in Hollywood. They didn't know. They knew. They fucking knew. All right. Spread the word. Be of good cheer. Things are happening. Good things are happening. It's not going to be one of those things where they get off. They may get off where they don't get brought to justice, but with a noose. But if you notice, the suicides and deaths and natural causes are starting to rack up rather rapidly in some of those echelons of people that were involved in this traffic, because a lot of them don't want to face justice, and a lot of them would rather just kill themselves. And then some of them, maybe they're not, I mean, I don't know. Some of them, maybe they're not killing themselves. Maybe they're being suicided by others so that they can't flip on others before they do. And some of them may just be giving up the ghost. And some, I don't know. But I don't give a fuck as long as they go, as long as they get dead. How they get dead, it'd be better. Because like I said, some of these guys, it's embarrassing that like Elijah and a few of these others were not brought to justice. They were allowed to die in their beds. Although that one's a little tricky also. But the idea that, no, they're dropping like flies now. CEOs are starting to drop like flies also, if you pay attention. I mean, dead, not just resigning. So it's coming, it's happening. And there's going to be a lot more as time goes by. The Marines have been called out. The reserves have been called out. That wasn't an accident. There is a rumor. I have not, if you guys can anybody over here, there's 16 people watching this. Can anybody confirm the fact that the Israeli embassies are closing around the world? Right? Because I've heard this, I've seen rumor of it, but I haven't been able to confirm positive or negative whether the yes or no, confirm or deny the fact that consulates, Israeli embassies and consulates are starting to close around the world. If this is the case, pay attention. They file that under, as Mark Twain used to say, important if true, because shit's coming, kids. A shit storm is coming. You want to have gold, you want to have silver, but you won't be able to eat gold and silver. So you want to have access to food that grows up out of the ground, or animals, or because there may be a little transition stage here where we go from one thing to another thing, and it might be a little rocky in between. And if it's 3, 6, 8 months, that will actually be pretty awesome in the scale, in the larger scale of things. But I can assure you, the one side does kind of care about how you do it, and they're dropping hints at you constantly to prepare and get survival food and get your stuff together just in case. It's not a guarantee that this is going to happen. The bottom may fall out. They may be able to do the transition without having too much disruption. But what if they do? What if you're in California? You need a grab and go bag, obviously, because they're setting fires like fucking crazy over there. California isn't going to be the only place. There's going to be more civil unrest. So just be ready, just in case, right? If you don't need it, you don't need it. But if you do need it, you're going to wish the fuck you had. And right now is the time to prepare, right? Sun Tzu tells you, right? This is the time to prepare. When I can go to the store and buy anything I want right now, right? There's no shortages of anything. But in the future, that might not be the case. So if you are counting on the centralized food distribution system to see you through, I think you should think again. And you don't have to get crazy about it, but at the same time, a few months wouldn't hurt nothing. And if you get 4, 5, 6 months of this together, that's about how long it'll take you to have certain foodstuffs to come up so that you can eat it. So you, in case this thing lasts longer, right? Take a look at other countries, right? There are many, many other countries that have had severe issues, and you can learn from these people. As I tell my sons all the time, the only way to learn is through mistakes, but they don't have to be your mistakes, right? So you can see, there are various websites that tell you what's the 100 items that go first, right? When there's a societal collapse, right? The name is going to escape me, but he was a Russian guy, and Orlov. He wrote some great stuff about what happens when the people are thinking that they're going to have centralized food, especially in Russia and so forth, where they really had a communist thing going on there. We have a capitalist centralized distribution system, but the idea is make it so that I know it can be difficult, but make it so that you are somewhat self-sufficient and head that way. It doesn't have to be an overnight kind of thing, but stuff's going to happen. I'm telling you, we've got stuff's happening. So prepare. Simple as that. And spread the word and form communities, right? Make art, find others. Get in groups and have like-minded people. We've got a few people here on where I am that are like-minded, and they're starting to put food in the ground. Right? Like I said, last night, first meal in a while where most of it came off the land. And it needs to be more of that, more and more meals where, farmers just do this, right? But a lot of you in suburbia and a lot of your friends and family that have been trained and programmed, oh, don't worry, you just go to the supermarket. Oh, don't worry, you just go to the convenience store or whatever. There'll always be food. Might not be the case. So without getting too crazy about it, without sounding alarmist and insane, just prepare like your parents did and maybe not your parents, your great-grandparents did, right? Most of them all had food cellars. Right? I don't know about you, but my grandma always, right? They're always putting up. This is the time of year, putting up, right? I've been putting up my own self, right? Just put stuff up. Canning. It's an art form. Be able to make your own food and preserve it, because when it comes in, there's way too much. There's too many apples. There's too many whatever it is, right? There's too much stuff. So you learn how to preserve it using canning techniques and other techniques that our ancestors perfected over the years. That's why there's billions of us. But the idea is you need to get into that position also, because your gold and silver and bullets may not feed your children or yourself. So just get self-sufficient, and then understand that if you can't hold it in your hand and you can't protect it, you don't own it. Simple as that. And there's always going to be dickheads, their little red headed story, with guns and clubs that'll come and try and take your stuff because they didn't prepare. Right? Always. And a lot of times those guys will have badges or some kind of government document or something like that. But just be prepared, because if you can't defend it, if you can't, right? And that's the thing where a lot of guys, you don't make a big story about how much silver you have on the internet. For God's sake, somebody will come to your house and take your silver. Same thing with your, take a look at the thing that Obama signed. I can't remember the name of the order, but basically it says all your stuff is the government stuff. So if you have a large store of food and survival stuff and the government wants it, according to their law, they can come and take it from you. But they can't take it if they don't know where it is. All right, I've gone on long enough. Thanks for all the support over the years. Thanks for all the nice comments and so forth. Thanks for spreading my videos around. Every once in a while, I see one of my videos someplace and I didn't put it there. So cool. And I will talk to you guys soon. Like I said, I haven't made a video in a long time because most of them I didn't like. This one I didn't go down any touchy roads very much. And so, we'll leave it up. But if it does go down, the reason why it went down is because of YouTube, not because of me. All right, talk to you guys soon. Be of good cheer. Things are happening. Like I said, just educate self, educate others. E pluribus unum. We're going to get through this. Coming out the other side smelling like roses.